Vijay Sokpun, colleagues. So, I believe that everything we do should have something close to what Dorji Wangchuk was speaking about when he spoke about mindfulness. So if I'm asking the question about mindfulness, then I think we should be trying to influence some type of an intention or an action. So as you are listening to me now, ask yourself, could I change my opinion about something based on what you have heard? Could you change your opinion? Secondly, what can you do to help shape your future? What can you do to help shape your future or the future of this great country? Now, what could that look like? Ask yourself, where do you have an opportunity to influence the future? It could be in a conversation with one of your MPs. It could be talking to one of the government officials within the NEC. It could also be volunteering with one of the great CSOs that have been part of the process of today, such as BCMD or Helvetas. So how can you influence your future? So how can some of the following suggestions, how can you engage with them? Or how can you engage with something you heard earlier on today? Action and intention. The title of my short presentation is Balancing Mind and Heart for Democracy and the Environment. Balancing Mind and Heart for Democracy and the Environment. Senda Nosum Tingo. I will speak about 4 insights and 4 suggestions for action. And you may want to write down the ones that sound true for you. The ones that sound, but it also gives you a great responsibility. I understand Vijay Sokpun spoke about this morning, so I'm repeating some of what he said. I'm referring specifically now to Article 5 on the environment. Every Bhutanese is a trustee of the kingdom's natural resources and environment for the benefit of the present and future generations, and it is a fundamental duty of every citizen to contribute to the protection of the natural environment. That's a great honor, but it's also a great responsibility. It's number 1. Number 2, democracy requires constant cultivation. We see that very clearly in the West today. One of the reasons it requires such constant attention, care and attention, is the challenges around social media and what is called fake news. But we also see in the West that there are questions bubbling up, especially from the youth. A young lady in Sweden, Greta Thunberg, is asking questions about climate change. This can soon start to happen more often here in Bhutan as well. Secondly, where there are apparent deficits in the way we elect our representatives, we should ask questions. So, for example, the Royal Government of Bhutan and the United Nations earlier this year produced what is called the National Human Development Report. In there is an explanation that Phuntsholling has approximately 30,000 people. The Lord Mayor of Phuntsholling was elected by less than 200 people. And that's connected to how the votes and the person who has the ability to vote is decided. But if we have 30,000 people living in Punsoling and only 200 people are actually influencing the election of the Lord Mayor, there's a question to be asked. Number 3, some really interesting research has gone on around the psychology of connecting democracy and climate action. Ugen, can you circulate this document to as many tables as possible? Of course, I think you don't have many to circulate. It's a mind-body behavior. If this is of interest to you, just take a copy of it, take a photograph of it with your phone. And you will see that it's available on the internet for free. The title of the document is Mind, Society, and Behavior. It says some very interesting things. For example, the power of the media to shape how we think is huge. If you focus too much on gloom and doom, then it does not help people to take action. We need to be wise. We cannot overemphasize gloom and doom when it comes to climate change. We have to find a balance. Another suggestion in this very important document, on chapter 9 from this document, is strong democracies listen to future generations. Strong democracies listen to future democracies. Strong democracies listen to future generations. And because our constitution, Bhutan's constitution, puts a premium on future generations, we have to find ways to engage as actively as possible with future generations and young people here in Bhutan. There's many other very interesting things in this chapter 9 of this document, and it all is the psychology of how we can bring about smart change. As most, if not everyone in this room is aware, His Majesty has exemplified the 5 great qualities of the Bhutanese. SMART. S standing for sincere, M for mindfulness, A for astuteness, R for resilience, and T for timelessness. This is a great document if we want to find the wise way to bring about change in our vibrant democracy. Number 4. Some of you may be aware that the research now shows us that there will be as many as 200 climate migrants in the world by 2050. Research now shows that by 2050 we will have 200 climate migrants in the world. Some of these will be in South Asia. 2050 may sound like a long way away. Friends, colleagues, let me tell you, 2050 is just around the corner. Now is the time for us to anticipate astutely the challenges of the future. Those were the insights I wanted to share. Now I want to share with you some suggestions on actions. Semda nosam tingo. The projects we are doing in Bhutan, as much as possible, they need to find ways to combine mind and heart. Mind and heart. Let me give you an example. The United Nations, UNDP, we're bringing in 300 electric vehicles over the next 2 years. We're going to We're going to reduce pollution. We're going to help the private sector because this is growing the Bhutanese Taxi Association, the members of the Bhutanese Taxi Association. But most importantly, we're going to reduce our dependence and the money we spend on expensive fossil fuels, and we're going to use our own electricity. This is Senda Nosam Tingo in action. And if we are astute, we can find similar types of work across all the areas that we work in. Number 2, democracy needs cultivation. Here are 2 suggestions. Number 1, the last youth parliament occurred on the 6th of January 2017. 6th of January 2017. 19, almost 2.5 years ago. Let us consider reactivating the youth parliament. I know there were some challenges, but we have learned lessons, and we are wise enough to apply the lessons we have learned. The second suggestion goes back to what I was saying about in the election of the Lord Mayors of, for example, Punsoling, we include much more of the people who live in Punsoling, so that the people of Punsoling can have a direct influence on their main representative. Number 3, the media is right at the heart of shaping the future. We need to continue to build and strengthen. The United Nations does this. We need to do more. And other sections of society can also assist. Finally, it's very interesting that the last session was on education. We have to not only strengthen education in the high schools, lower secondary schools, but we also need to strengthen the universities of Bhutan. Increasingly, we need to be seeing this as the crown jewel of the education system. And if it truly is the crown jewel, all parts of the education system are important, then we need to give it the finances it needs, because so many of our young people are going to our own universities and preparing for the future. The challenges of Bhutan and climate change are specific to Bhutan, so we need our own smart people understanding how to do the smartest things on climate action for Bhutan. And I believe the Royal University of Bhutan, but also the private universities such as RTC and Richter and Paro, can also be such a great backbone to helping us find the smartest ways to adapt to the challenges of climate action going forward. Let me remind you, the title of this short presentation was Balancing Mind and Heart for Democracy and the Environment. And I wish that the United Nations will continue to be a good partner in helping the Royal Government of Bhutan, the Parliament, and the citizens of this great country continue to protect its future, which is so important, not just to Bhutan, but also to the world we live in. Head and Sheila.
I am so deeply touched. When I thought of what this might be, when this was just a genesis, when I just written up what I thought this might be, a way of bringing the Bhutanese to think about the things that matter, when I communicated with you, this is just, surpasses everything I could have dreamt of. So I want to just, first of all, thank Sangye, the Center for the Local Governance, all of your colleagues, the honorable speaker, Gerald, every one of the speakers, moderators who's tried to make the ideas matter, and every one of us who has been in this room the whole day thinking about these things. Because ideas really are very powerful, and reflection is just so important. So I'm very, very grateful, and on behalf of my Center for the Study of Democracy, and personally as somebody who feels very deeply for Bhutan, I'm tremendously touched and grateful and feel blessed and privileged. It would not be fair, if I can just have 2 minutes, it would not be fair for me to have you be here the whole day and not answer the question that so many people have asked me, what exactly is biodemocracy? So I'm not really going to answer it, but I do want to read out something that I think was at the back of my mind when I put this forward. So I'll just read that out. As Bhutan is trying to develop mindfully, it faces significant challenges relating to economy, society, climate. It's a small, high-altitude country, rich in natural resources, surrounded by fast urbanizing, environmentally unsustainable, resource-hungry, and populous neighbors. Further, as a fragile natural ecosystem and as a democratizing G&H welfare state, functioning in the digital era, it needs a balance between the expectations of economic and livelihood opportunities for especially the largest demographic of the educated younger population. And also, it needs a socioeconomic trajectory that combines sustainable organization of space and resources in order to build resilient cities, communities, and ecosystems. Bhutan, as it stands on the cusp of its first decade after formal, formal democracy, first elections, let's say, and accelerated infrastructural development, it faces various vulnerabilities such as urban employment, of how to generate urban employment, rural livelihood generation, fostering private sector growth, and all of this is nested within the larger pressures of biological and social ecosystem sustainability. So as I was trying to, when I thought of this, as I was trying to bring together nearly 13, 14 years of my engagement with this country and everything that I've seen and everything that's so valuable, I feel that these are the challenges that are really important. And today the speakers have deliberated on various aspects of that. And I think one way in which biodemocracy and the need for resilience, it brings together on the one end of the spectrum, it makes us think about political ecology. You know, what is the ecology of politics, of decision making? On the other end of the spectrum, I think it makes us think about ecological politics. How do we use resources in better ways? How do we build resilience in a world where the era known as the Anthropocene, where everything's just going very wrong, as we were shown with temperature increases globally. It is also about, as the leaders, as the kings of this country and leaders, and as the citizens here who are trustees of the environment, understand that it's the responsibility of democratic consciousness and citizens towards people and the planet. And I think those within all of that, the role for narratives really struck me when I was listening to how the traditional stories, everything that makes this place not perfect, but still very, very special, I think. When Dorji was saying the whole world needs a Bhutan, I think the whole world needs a Bhutan, but the Bhutanese also need that Bhutan, that dream of Bhutan. And it's my cherished hope that you will all, that everyone will work together to keep making Bhutan be something that the world can keep looking up to. Thank you so much, Kadinchana.